You know, sometimes you stumble across a resource and it just clicks. Like, aha. That's how I felt with this one. Cheap ABA, Building Positive Relationships in Families with Autistic Children and Teens. Raising a child on the spectrum has its own beautiful, well, rhythm.
It does. It really does.
And this deep dive, I think, is all about finding that family harmony. You know what I mean? Like that feeling of we're in this together.
It makes such a difference, when a child feels that support. And honestly, we're talking about way more than just like warm fuzzies here,
Right.
right?
It's deeper than that.
We're talking about setting these kids up to thrive, building confidence, social skills, that sense of belonging. Those are the foundations.
And the book really digs into why that family bond is so essential for all of that. It's like, okay, it's not just about getting by. It's about really blossoming, you know?
It's huge. Think of it this way: when a child feels that deep down, unshakable love and security from their family, it's like they've got this superpower, this inner strength. They're more likely to try new things, to face challenges head on, because they know, no matter what, they've got that safe haven to come back to.
Totally. It's like having your own personal cheering section always in your corner. But I think what's really cool is that the book shows how this ties into practical skills too, not just the emotional stuff.
Absolutely. Like, disagreements happen in every family, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's inevitable. But when you've got that bedrock of positive relationships, those disagreements, they become opportunities, like to teach those essential conflict resolution skills, learning to communicate clearly, to listen, really listen, and to compromise. These are lifelong skills.
It's true.
And those are things that'll help a child on the spectrum navigate, the world outside of the family, too.
It's like they're getting this master class in social skills without even realizing it. They see healthy communication in action, how to express their needs, understand other people's points of view.
Exactly.
And it makes me wonder about the ripple effects that has on other relationships in their lives, like with friends, teachers, classmates.
100%. Because those positive interactions at home, they kind of create this blueprint, this framework for healthy relationships everywhere. Making friends, talking to teachers, even just navigating those everyday social situations, it all becomes a bit less daunting.
It's amazing how much those early family experiences shape how we understand relationships, isn't it? Okay, so the book lays out the why, but then it gets really practical too. Like, how do we actually strengthen those bonds, even with all the craziness of family life?
And that's where it gets really interesting, because it starts by acknowledging that every single relationship within the family needs a slightly different kind of attention,
That
right?
makes sense.
The parent-to-parent connection, sibling relationships, even how we involve extended family. It's like we're weaving this intricate tapestry. Each thread has its place.
And like any good weaver will tell you, you got to start with a strong foundation.
Yeah.
I noticed the book really emphasizes the relationship between the parents. Like, that's key.
It really is, because when parents are on the same page, supporting each other, it creates this amazing stability. It resonates throughout the whole family. But it's easy to lose sight of that. Life gets busy. Especially when you're raising a child with autism, there are so many demands.
Oh, absolutely. Date nights are probably a distant memory for some parents, I'd imagine.
For a lot of them, they are. That's why even the smallest acts of connection can be so powerful. Stealing 15 minutes after the kids are asleep to just talk, maybe a shared hobby. It doesn't have to be big. Even a walk around the block together, it reminds each other, hey, we're in this together.
Keeping that spark alive, that sense of teamwork, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of teamwork, the book dives into those precious sibling relationships too.
Which are so important. It's not just about preventing fights, though that's definitely a bonus. It's about nurturing that genuine affection, that understanding between siblings.
I'm picturing two siblings, maybe different ages, totally different interests, and finding ways to connect,
Yeah.
through those differences.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. And the book has such practical advice, like spending one-on-one time with each child, really honing in on their unique interests.
Love that.
Even something as simple as reading a book together or doing a puzzle. It's about nurturing those individual connections within the whole family unit.
Creating that space for each relationship to kind of breathe and grow on its own. But it doesn't stop with the immediate family, does it? The book also talks about extended family, like grandparents, aunts, and uncles.
It does, because it really does take a village, right?
It does.
It's about giving those extended family members the tools to be supportive too. Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
When we educate them about autism, about the child's specific needs, their strengths, it empowers them to interact in a way that's genuine. Sharing resources, having honest conversations, it all chips away at those misconceptions.
So it's about moving away from this idea of fixing and towards just understanding and accepting, wouldn't you say?
100%. Because when a child feels accepted, loved for exactly who they are, that's when the magic really happens. And you know what? This leads perfectly into this other concept the book talks about that I just loved. It's this idea of focusing on the family's strengths.
Oh, interesting. So not just overcoming challenges, but actually celebrating what makes each family awesome.
Exactly. Shifting the narrative from deficits to superpowers, you know?
I love that.
And the book gives some great examples, like incorporating family activities that play to everyone's strengths. Maybe one kid is super creative and another is like an organization whiz. So how can you use those strengths together to create something amazing?
Like a family talent show.
Yeah.
One designs the tickets, the other one choreographs the dances.
Exactly. Or maybe building a family garden together, or even just having a weekly game night where everyone gets to pick their favorite game. It's those little things, right? Where differences become strengths.
It's true, like
Yeah.
weaving those individual threads,
Yeah.
you know, into something strong and beautiful. Okay, so the book doesn't pretend there won't be challenges, but it does such a great job of reframing those challenges as opportunities for growth.
That's resilience, right? Life throws curveballs at everyone, but it's how we respond as a family, as a unit that matters.
So how do we even start to build that resilience? Where we begin?
Well, communication is huge. Open and honest communication. The book really emphasizes that, like having regular family check-ins, maybe a quick chat after dinner, or a more structured family meeting once a week. That creates a safe space for everyone to share how they're feeling.
Creating that we're in this together vibe.
Exactly. And a big part of that is acknowledging everyone's contributions, even the small ones. Especially for children on the spectrum, you know? Did they try a new food? Did they manage their frustration in a healthy way? Those little victories deserve to be celebrated.
Because those little wins build confidence. And speaking of things that can create stability, I feel like routines are huge, right? Especially for kids on the spectrum.
They're essential because routines create that predictability, and that can be so grounding when the world can feel kind of overwhelming. Knowing what to expect, having those anchors throughout the day, it makes a world of difference.
It's not just for kids either, right? Like when my schedule's jam-packed, having those routines helps me stay sane.
Totally. Routines benefit everyone. A consistent bedtime routine, planning meals in advance, even just having a designated homework time or family activity time, it creates a rhythm, you know, makes everyone feel a bit more grounded. But here's something I found really cool. The book talks about involving the child in problem solving whenever possible. It's like we're shifting the power dynamic, right?
Totally. Instead of, you have to do this, it's, hey, how can we solve this together?
Exactly. Obviously, you adjust based on the child's age and all that. But even small choices, they make a difference. Like, do you want the blue shirt or the red shirt today? It all adds up.
It does. It really does.
Mm.
You know, it's funny, when we were talking about routines earlier, it made me think about self-care for parents, too.
Oh, for sure.
It's so easy to get lost in the everyday chaos, especially with the unique demands of raising a child with autism. Self-care can feel like, well, a distant memory.
It's true. It's like that classic saying, put on your own oxygen mask first. But it's easier said than done sometimes, right?
Oh, 100%.
It's tough.
But I did like how this book makes self-care feel doable. Even for the busiest parents, there are things you can do.
Right. And it doesn't have to be anything over the top either. We're not talking about like escaping for a week-long retreat here.
Because, let's face it, squeezing in a spa day between therapy appointments and IEP meetings, not exactly realistic.
Right, exactly. The book really focuses on those small, manageable changes. You know, the stuff that actually makes a difference long term. Starting with the basics.
The basics being,
Well, fueling your body with healthy foods, trying to get enough sleep. I know. That one's always a work in progress.
always a work in progress. It's like the holy grail of parenting, right? A full night's sleep.
Tell me about it. But even just prioritizing it, you know, and finding ways to move your body, even if it's just for a few minutes each day, it really does help.
Just getting outside, feeling the sun on your face. Those little things can be so recharging.
Totally. And you know what else? Don't underestimate carving out even a tiny bit of time for things you genuinely enjoy. Reading a book, listening to music, whatever fills your cup.
It's easy to feel guilty about that, but it's so important.
It's not selfish. It's essential. Think of it like recharging your battery so you can be the best parent you can be.
Totally. And I love that the book talks about incorporating relaxation techniques too.
Yeah.
Like finding ways to quiet the mental chatter. because, man, that can be loud.
Oh, tell me about it. But again, it doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing. A few minutes of deep breathing or even a guided meditation. There are apps for that, with super short meditations you can do anywhere.
Seriously. Wow, technology is amazing. Okay, I'm adding that to my to-do list.
Yeah.
Find a meditation app.
Do it. The point is, find what works for you and stick with it. Make it part of your routine.
Like we were talking about before, it all comes full circle.
Exactly. And this book is full of practical advice, which I love. But even more than that, I think it's about shifting our perspective. It reminds us that we're not alone on this journey.
It really does.
It's okay to ask for help, to lean on your support system, whether it's your partner, friends, family, or even a therapist. There's no shame in that.
Not at all. It takes a village, right?
Yeah.
That's what I say. This deep dive has been so insightful, I feel like. Empowered,
Yeah.
Not overwhelmed, which is a nice change of pace. We've talked about nurturing those individual relationships, building resilience as a family, those routines.
And it all comes back to creating those positive connections, doesn't it? That foundation of love and acceptance. It's what allows children on the spectrum to truly thrive.
It really is. So listeners, here's something to think about. We've talked a lot about routines and how they can bring stability, especially for children on the spectrum. So here's my question. What's one small, fun routine your family could start this week to strengthen your bond? Something you can all look forward to.
Maybe a family game night or cooking dinner together or even just a walk after dinner.
It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, just something to create those little moments of connection.
Exactly. The most important thing is that it's something you all enjoy. Start small, have fun.
It's about giving kids the tools to be part of the solution, not just, trying to control everything.
Exactly. It's more like, how can we work through this together? And obviously you adjust based on the child's age and all, but even those little choices, blue shirt or red shirt, they make a difference.
They do. It builds that sense of, like, hey, my opinion matters.
Exactly. It's about that sense of agency, which, now that I think about it, kind of ties into self-care for parents, too.
Oh, 100%.
Because when you're feeling more empowered yourself, it's easier to empower your kids, right?
It's true. And it's so easy to let self-care fall by the wayside when you're caught up in the daily grind, especially with the unique challenges of raising a child on the spectrum. It can feel like a luxury you don't have time for.
It's true. But, this book does a great job of reminding us that self-care isn't selfish. It's essential.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be this big, elaborate thing either. It's more about, like, those small, sustainable changes, the things you can actually stick with.
Totally. Small steps, big impact. So where do we even start?
Honestly, the basics are key. Nourishing your body with healthy food, trying to get enough sleep. No, easier said than done, right?
A sleep struggle is real.
It is. But even just making it a priority,
Yeah.
and finding little ways to move your body, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Like a quick walk around the block, or even just stretching while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. Those little things add up.
They do. And you know what else I loved about the book? It talks about making time for things you actually enjoy.
Yes.
Even if it's just 15 minutes a day, reading a book, listening to music, whatever fills your cup.
So important. I think we often forget that,
Yeah.
We get so caught up in taking care of everyone else that we forget about ourselves.
Exactly. And then we end up feeling resentful and burnt out. So yeah, prioritize those moments of joy, even if they seem small.
And I really appreciate that the book talks about relaxation techniques too, because finding ways to quiet the mental noise, that's huge.
Oh, tell me about it. But again, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. Even a few minutes of deep breathing or a guided meditation.
A guided meditation. Okay.
There are some great apps out there. With meditations, you can literally do anywhere, even if you only have like 5 minutes.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to check those out. Okay, so we've got the practical tips, but more than that, I feel like this book is really about shifting our perspective, wouldn't you say?
100%. It's about remembering that we're not alone in this journey. It's okay to ask for help, whether it's your partner, friends, family, a therapist. It takes a village, right?
Yeah, it really does. This deep dive has been so eye-opening. Honestly, I feel empowered, not overwhelmed, which is a nice change. We've talked about nurturing those individual relationships, building resilience as a family, the importance of routines, self-care for parents.
It's about creating that foundation of love and support. Because when kids feel that, especially kids on the spectrum, that's when they can truly thrive.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
So listeners, as we wrap up, here's something to think about. We've talked a lot about how routines can bring stability, especially for children on the spectrum. So here's my question. What's one small, fun routine your family could start this week? Something you can all look forward to that would help strengthen your bond.
Maybe a family game night, cooking dinner
Like
together.
family dance party.
Oh, I love that idea.
Or even just a walk after dinner to talk about your day.
It really doesn't have to be complicated. Just start small, find something you all enjoy, and have fun.
Couldn't have said it better myself. A huge thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into building those incredible, positive relationships within families with autistic children. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all in this together. Until next time, keep those conversations going and keep exploring with us here on The Deep Dive.